Hello and welcome back to All Elite Spotlight. I am TNT, and guess what? Dynamite delivers yet again. So we had a star-studded show, a huge lineup full of title defenses. Not one, two, three, but four title defenses. And yes, they were something to behold. So right off the bat, we can say another great main event, another display of great professional wrestling by the pro wrestling champion of the industry. So I'm laughing, but seriously, Darby Allin carrying the title with pride, a fighting champion defending yet again, second week in a row, and already has a challenger lined up and named for next week's Dynamite. Because yes, as you may be able to surmise by now, Darby defended successfully again, this time against Brody King, one of his greatest foes, adversaries, yet friends in the business as well. So in-ring competition between friends in the business can really produce some magical moments in the ring, and we had an example of that tonight. They really knocked it out of the park, added more to their lore and their feud and their in-ring history, and it was done with respect between the two of them. So nice change in pace from the first defense where, you had a challenger who was all out, literally out for blood, ended up tasting a lot of his own blood, but in the end showed respect, and we get a taste of that as well. But let's go ahead and take it from the top, and we'll get to that main event at the end of this recording. So to open the show, we get the first title match, and that is for the TNT title. We have the champion Kevin Knight defending against challenger MJF. So we do a brief recap of the story leading into this match, how MJF was baited when he was insulted by Kevin Knight, saying that great wrestlers have held that TNT title, and it's no wonder that MJF hasn't had it. And great match between these two, great story told in the ring, and unexpected finish for some, maybe. I mean, I honestly began in my preview video picking Kevin Knight to win this match and successfully defend, but then changed at the last minute at the very end, saying, you know what, MJF is going to get this victory, increase his legacy, grow his legend, and add a different championship to his resume. However, did not happen. And Kevin Knight with a great win, an excellent win, and adding to his resume rather than MJF to his own. So Kevin Knight really with a statement win here, getting a win against MJF to help balance the scales, if you will, since MJF had a successful world title defense against Kevin Knight a few weeks ago. So, which was in the recap video. So nice job by AEW making sure to get the history in there before we had the match. So we also had Taz back on commentary calling the match, and just got to say it's always good to hear him because he gives that heel commentator that is often missing, through on the broadcast. And Nigel McGuinness does provide that, but Taz takes it up a level, and he's just straight up saying he doesn't like Kevin Knight or his partner Speedball, Mike Bailey. So it's good to hear him back and hear his take on things. But back to the match, commentary, did mention that Knight is the first man to win 3 titles in a calendar year in AEW. So that's a stat that I didn't know existed, but good for Kevin Knight. And it's a lot. It actually means something. It shows how much time he's getting and how many opportunities he's getting and earning and living up to, in all honesty. And as I hinted to already, or spoke about already, he's getting a world title shot at AEW Dynamite, and this will be his second world title opportunity in this year alone. And we're only now through April going into May. So there you have it. They really believe in him. I would imagine he has a run here with the TNT title. Perhaps. I would imagine there would be some more build up before he gets thrown into a world championship reign. But it's good that he's getting these looks and these opportunities, and they're showing, that he can hang with the best of the best in AEW. So it was a strong match from MJF from the very start. He was really taking it to Kevin Knight in the ring, on the floor. Didn't matter. And it was good when it was time for Kevin Knight to fight back and try and get back on top. He was doing it with strikes and like fury and passion, not just the high flying maneuvers or a flashy counter. It was, physicality, something you don't necessarily see out of him, especially when it comes to like taking control of a match. It's usually something, flashy, and that's really eye catching. And don't get me wrong, he did that in the match as well, but it was good to see when he was in trouble, he was able to get into that gear and attack his opponent in that way, show a different dynamic in his skill set. And so I thought that was a good thing to see. MJF was doing MJF things. He was constantly creating space, so rolling out of the ring time after time whenever Kevin Knight was getting an advantage. Of course, it would lead to Kevin Knight being able to show and exhibit his ability to fly, his tope suicidas, his flying lariat, his springboard lariat to the floor. So it was good. You got to see MJF being a wily heel veteran, and that opened the door for Kevin Knight to be the flashy hero that can show and really exemplify his athleticism. So really good storytelling in that match. Really good examples of exactly who both of those wrestlers are. So well done. We got to see MJF pull out the Panama Sunrise. That was able to pull up a 2 count, but the real meat of the story towards the end was what happened with Kevin Knight and his knee. So he did a moonsault, countering a shove. He was battling up there at the top with MJF, got shoved, did the moonsault to land on his feet to counter it, blew out the knee, So the knee was a problem. It really looked like MJF was going to win this. So another great wrinkle in the story, because Kevin Knight was selling it to where he couldn't even run. So he would have collapsed, like charging MJF in the corner, stuff like that. So it looked like he was going to be done, because how can he beat MJF if he can't even run or carry his own weight? Taz did a great job pointing that out, as did Shivani and Excalibur. So they were really telling that story. There's no way this match is over and done with. Kevin Knight being the true hero, fighting regardless of the situation, able to counter out of a second attempt of a Panama Sunrise with a thrust kick, and able to hit the UFO splash despite the injury, but only gets a close 2 count. And here's where MJF has had enough. So he goes, grabs the TNT title. Referee Ginsburg grabs the title from him. And again, here's that old trick again. It's the old distraction. Allows him to pull out the Dynamite diamond ring. However, we all know what's coming with MJF. So Kevin Knight shows that he does as well. He does what Darby did and utilizes a low blow. So MJF going low to the cheating tactics, suffers a low blow, and this time an inside cradle for the loss. 3 count, it's over. MJF super frustrated, attacks after the match with a chop block. However, who comes down from the rafters? It's not Sting, but Darby. Darby down from the rafters. Happened really quickly. Gets behind MJF and Scorpion Death Drop. MJF's out of there. I love that connection with Sting that he has, and I love that they were able to use that whole rappelling from the rafters thing and him hitting a scorpion death drop. It's just A+ storytelling and connections there, and really giving Darby a chance to shine as the hero of AEW that he is at this moment, being a strong champion and representing the company. So after the match, of course, MJF's upset. He's calling both Darby and Kevin Knight low-down cheaters. Funny coming from him, of course. It's great when the heel is just so oblivious or just doesn't care about how ridiculous the things he says sounds. I mean, in wrestling, it's great. So anyway, he says he wasn't trying in that match, and because all he cares about anyway is the Triple B, and he wants a rematch. Darby, the whole crowd is actually saying no, doing the Bryan Danielson, no, 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 right? And Darby obliges them and says no. And he said, basically, again, MJF has to be willing to give up something for that. So really curious as to what it's going to end up being. And says if he survives Brody, it's going to be somebody who's more deserving that gets a title shot next. And it's Kevin Knight who will be the recipient there. Immediately, Brody's music hit. He comes out, stares down MJF, who eventually leaves. And Brody King's in the ring, says, Darby, you're not going to survive tonight. And Kevin, you've got some bad news because you'll be facing me next week for the title. So no matter how that main event falls, whoever wins, Kevin Knight getting the title opportunity. From there, we had another video package, which AEW is getting better and better at, and I'm a huge fan of it. Love a good video package when it's done well, and they did this one well. It was featuring the history of Darby Allin versus Brody King. It was a great recap to some death metal, and it was just short, sweet, showed some highlights of the brutality of their previous matches and set the stage for what we had in store for the main event. Well done. Again, great, concise video package to set up a title match. From there, we had another backstage promo. This one is Cage and Cope, and they're with Renee, and it was short and to the point. Here we had Cage revealing through Renee that he has a fractured arm and doesn't care, doesn't want to talk about it. What they are going to say is that they do accept FTR's challenge to make that New York street fight for the tag team titles at the upcoming pay-per-view Double or Nothing. They're going to accept the I quit stipulation. And Cope is like, you have quit in the past. And Cage, I never did that. I never said that. And walks off. Cope's telling Renee he definitely did. And he did. He said, I quit in a match against his partner, Adam Copeland, back in 24 on Dynamite for the TNT title when Cope actually became the TNT champion. So does have some history with the I quit match there. Cope says he won't be quitting this time. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not sure who's going to win that one yet, but we'll see how things are looking as the story progresses. From there, we had our second match of the night. Just a quick tag match. We have the Brawling Birds against Emily J and Jordan Blade. And it was good to see. Jamie Hayter's back. She's cleared to wrestle. Her first match back since her loss to Tekla at Dynasty. So it's good to see her back in the ring. The Brawling Birds were in fine form, hard hitting, physical, really took it to the opposition of course, and not much of a match. 2 birds, 1 stone, enough said. And it looks like they are still focused on the triangle, and that is further emphasized and cemented and set in stone because following that match was a backstage promo with Tekla and Sky Blue. No Julia Hart, and basically they're saying there's still unfinished business with the Birds, and we'll be seeing them. I don't know if it'll be Tekla and Sky Blue. I don't know where Julia Hart is. They brought up the whole black spray mist to Persephone, and Sky Blue saying that, hey, it was what led to one of the best moments in her career or decisions in her career, because that's what helped turn her down that path to darkness to where she's teamed up with Julia Hart now in the Triangle of Madness. So is that going to be something that happens to Persephone? She's not really an AEW regular. She goes back and forth now and then. She's a CMLL women's world champion. So I don't know if that's going to happen for her. But regardless, it looks like we're not done with the Brawling Birds and the Triangle of Madness. So whether it's in trios or tag, that will be continuing. And I'm not really mad at that. Tekla doesn't have a clear-cut challenger right now. She's beaten Windsor and Hayter. So I don't know who would be next unless Persephone comes back and is gunning for Tekla for Double or Nothing. So not exactly sure, but that pay-per-view is coming up. Let me know in the comments if you have any ideas of who Tekla's next opponent will be or should be. From there, we have our next match, and it's our second title match. It's International Champion Kazuchika Okada going up against Ace Austin. We have Don Callis on commentary. In all honesty, when I saw that it was happening, I didn't think it was going to be a threat to Okada. I'm sure the majority of all of us out here watching figured Okada would be successful. He does have a match against Takeshita set for that international title defense at Double or Nothing. So I don't think anybody was expecting Ace Austin to win. But what Ace did do was put on a hell of a match, and it was great. I don't want to say it stole the night because the competition was so fierce, but on just about any other wrestling show, this would have been main event status, honestly. Just the fact that Okada's in there alone, but Ace Austin, great talent, and they really did a great job. There was a part where Ace Austin did this one-handed handstand on the apron, and Okada sees it and just starts applauding, like, good job. The image of Austin there actually brought me back to like Luke Skywalker doing a one-hand stand when he was training with Yoda on Dagobah. Yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan. Sorry. Hope you are too. I mean, how could you not be? At least the original stuff anyway, right? But anyway, I digress. There was a spot where Okada hit this perfect, like, just beautiful dropkick. It was a counter to Ace's top rope, like he was trying to do a spinning heel kick or something from the top. And man, did he get his jaw jacked by that dropkick. I mean, it was just right on the money. Picture perfect. And really, the force and the impact, the way it looked, it looked like that could have been a finish to the match itself. But it went on from there. Ace countered Rainmaker, got Okada into a backslide, and got a very close to, I mean, as close to as you could get. Great timing on that kick out. I mean, it was right on the money. Okada ticked off that even happened and got so close. Hit a second drop kick, tombstone pile driver, Rainmaker, 3 count, and that was it. So it was a great match. Went over a commercial break. Ace Austin utilized his quickness and his agility. Just good in-ring acumen right there. Okada being Okada. What else can you say? He is firing on all cylinders, and he is going to, I'm sure, put on a clinic when he gets in the ring with Takeshita. But this match here tonight, solid matchup, A+ matchup. Like I said, could have been main event on just about any other night in any other company. It's just this night was so stacked. At the end, Don Callis, the rat that he is, gets in the ring, tries to attack Ace Austin, but Juice Robinson's right out there, stops that from happening, makes a quick save, and Konosuke comes out on the ramp, goes a stare down with Okada, just letting him know he's watching and he's waiting in the wings for that title opportunity. Now, this next video package was done really well. I like this one too. A great night for video packages in AEW. So we have the whole Bandito setup, right? You're watching it. It's the Western style. You see the wanted pictures. You see people like running away, and you're watching someone from the back, just seeing like their legs as they walk. And they bend down to pick up a flyer for the Bandito Most Wanted, and then they pull back. You see Prince Nana, you see Swerve, and Nana hands him a lighter. Swerve lights the flyer on fire, and we've got Swerve. I've been wondering where he's been, when he's coming back, what's going to be his focus when he does come back, and it's looking like he's targeting Bandito. So you know that's going to be a sick match because Bandito has been on fire for a year plus. You know, he's back when he was with Brody King as Brodito and tag champions, and as the current Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion. I mean, is Swerve going to be going for that? I don't know. That would be interesting. I mean, if he's gunning for Bandito, one would imagine that world title is possibly going to be up for grabs. What do you guys think? Are we going to see Swerve try to get a hold of the Ring of Honor world title? I mean, why not, right? AEW title is occupied. He's been trying for that, hasn't quite gotten it. He's gunning at Bandito. Bandito's world champion. There's got to be a reason behind it. So we'll see how that story unfolds, but I am definitely looking forward to seeing what's happening. And I really liked how they brought it up as, yeah, another Bandito video package. Let's see it. Go ahead. But nope, it's Swerve. Nice reveal. Well done. From there, another great moment for Dynamite. We have a backstage promo with the Death Riders. Now, there might be some people who can take exception with this, and I'll get into that at the end of it, but it starts, great shot. Shafir's on the ground rolling around with Yuta. You know, they're doing some wrestling training, just rolling around on the floor, and Ospreay arrives, and Mox gets up, asks him if he's been cleared. Will says no, but he's going to Japan anyway. He's got to keep his word with his friends, back them up. And, you know, Mox is talking to him about, wow, that's great, loyalty. But what he's focusing on really is telling Will that he needs to drop everything he feels towards Mox. So everything that comes to his mind when he sees him, all of the angst, all of the revenge he might want, anger, all of that. And then Mox says he makes no promises, he doesn't give guarantees, but what he does is he makes commitments and sees things all the way through. And all that he asks is the same in return. And Will says, okay, and walks on in. And there you have it. It looks like Will Ospreay has accepted the invitation and is going to be a member of the Death Riders, at the very least being trained by the Death Riders. And I imagine they're just not going to be training, but he's got to be a de facto actual member. He walks in there and asks, okay, so where's the ring? When are we doing this? Mox, I love it. He's like, oh, there's no ring. We start from the ground up. So we're just going to get it going here. And there was this one part where right before Mox gets into it with Will about, you know, him needing to drop all the negativity and any of the other clutter in his mind, he does this little poking thing to Pac in his midsection, and Pac's like, dude, what are you doing? I just thought it was funny to see Mox being playful like that. It was an interesting juxtaposition, you could say, between the way that he normally acts. But I personally like what they're doing here. I think it's perfect Moxley, perfect Death Riders, just how they're able, I don't want to say manipulate, but there's truth to what Moxley says and to how he does things. You know, he's all about wrestling and the purity of wrestling, and that's really all he cares about. You believe it about Claudio, you believe it about Pac, you believe it about Yuta. You believe it about Daniel Garcia. You believe it about Marina Shafir. And we know how Will Ospreay feels about wrestling. So why wouldn't that sound enticing to him? Now, the problem is that storyline wise, this is the guy. These are the people who broke his neck, right? And took him out of wrestling for so long, almost took wrestling away from him. So why would he want to go with them? So I can see if some people might push back on this just at surface value. But what I did like was Shivani did acknowledge and say it was shocking to see that Will is with the Death Riders after all that's happened between him and Mox, that he's willing to put that aside and, accept that invitation. And I think, like I said again, it's just perfect Jon Moxley and what the Death Riders represent. And Will Ospreay already tried things his way, already tried the whole vengeance route, could have probably beaten Jon Moxley when he fought him for that Continental Championship, but was so focused on hurting him and getting this vengeance that he lost the match and could have been hurt really badly during the match. Him and the Death Riders against Mark Davis, when he lost his match against Mark Davis, the match had to be stopped. He was so badly hurt, couldn't continue, and he was about to get more punishment, and came the Death Riders. So I like this storytelling. I like what AEW is doing. I like this branching that they're doing with Will Ospreay's character. We'll see exactly how far he goes with this, if he's going to take it all the way, if he's going to be truly committed to that cause, if he's going to be able to stick to it. Because John specifically told him he asked for that same commitment in return. So will Ospreay be able to actually do that? We shall find out. But that's intriguing stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing it play out. Let me know what you all think of it as well, because I'm curious to see what you all think about that whole predicament, that whole story that we've got coming out right now. Like I said, totally into it. From there, we had a tag match. We have Cage and Cope making their team debut on Dynamite. Hard to imagine since they've been around each other so long, and Cope's been in AEW for quite some time now, but it's their first time teaming on Dynamite, and they're going up against RPG Vice, Rocky Romero, and Trent Beretta. And FTR with Stoke is out on commentary. Stoke is sure to let the crowd know, or to let the audience know, that there's a no-touch clause because they're out there to do work. So this was a really competitive match, and really shouldn't be surprising because Rocky and Trent, come on, RPG Vice, they're a legit team. Huge fans of both of them. Really like Trent. Liked him. It's been years now. So they're both really good, and they showed it. And I like that they were able to get a moment, and such a highlighted moment, against such a decorated team. And it wasn't like they were just pushovers and they were out there to get beat, and for Cage and Cope to move on and show that they still got it and are deserving of another title shot. No, they had to fight for this. It did not come easy. And some people might say that, hey, maybe if they're really saying they're championship material and they need another title shot, then maybe they shouldn't be taking this much effort and time to beat RPG Vice, who isn't really on TV that often or anything like that. And I could kind of see your point with that, because we've all been trained to dismiss wrestlers who aren't at the top. Like if they only come out every so often, or if you're used to seeing them lose, then surely they just need to be smashed and swept under the rug whenever they come out. But that's what I like about AEW, because every match can be competitive and you don't know what you're going to see, right? You have to respect the opponent in the ring. And a team like RPG Vice, it's a very decorated tag team, it's a world-renowned tag team, and they've been together for years. So It was good to see two veterans in RPG Vice go against another pair of veterans. And I like that they were able to maybe get some respect on their name and have a good match out there. Now, besides that whole tag team dynamic, the conglomeration, Orange Cassidy, Roddy Strong, Kyle O'Reilly, they showed up at ringside in the stands, and Stoke took a swing at Orange and ended up getting hit with a box of popcorn. And the conglomeration, they basically took FTR and Stoke, fought them out into the fans and got them out of the way, and just got to focus on what turned out to be a great tag team match. In the end, it was a pop-up spear. So Cope tossing up Trent and Cage hitting the final touch, hitting him with that spear for the pop-up spear, and that led to the 3 count. But that was not enough for Cage and Cope. Cage went to get a chair. They broke off that bar that connects the legs, and they put poor Trent in the crossface, tell him he had to quit. Couldn't really hear him. You could hear he was saying, "I quit." But it was funny because they eventually had to take it out of his mouth. Whoa, pause. And then just do a regular crossface so he could clearly say, "I quit," which he did. And that was the end of that. And Cage pointed out, he said on the mic, "I would never quit," not in quite so many words, adding a few extra words, but basically saying he would never quit. And that was it for that match. So solid tag team match. Cage and Cope get some good work in and get to say they teamed on Dynamite, maybe for the last time. We shall see. I don't know that their tag team career is going to end. I refuse to think that as of this moment, but we'll see where that goes. From there, we had a backstage promo. Jericho is there with Renee, just basically saying that, he's not really happy with the way things are going, but he doesn't get to talk much because the Demand comes out basically immediately, attacks him, beats the mess out of him. Jericho stays defiant, still calls Ricochet bald, pays the ultimate price, and it's just laid out flat. And Ricochet, as he's walking away, turns around, goes to hit a Rico Salt backstage, does the backflip, but doesn't hit Jericho, and then says, "You're not even worth it." And, does his ha 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 laugh in his face. So Jericho's really getting owned. He's lost twice to the Rico Salt, 2 times. And now it's getting it thrown in his face and played around. And he's definitely going to need some backup. So eventually it has to happen. Is it going to be Big Bill and Keith, the bounty hunter? I don't know. I feel like it might have. Well, I was going to say it needs to be bigger guns, but does it get bigger than Big Bill? So we'll see. He definitely needs backup, and at some point he's going to get it. So we're just all waiting to see who it's going to be. From there, we had the tag titles being defended. The Divine Dominion against former Women's World Champions Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. So tough challenge for the tag champions. Their toughest challenge to date. And it definitely shaped up to be that because it was a physical match. And to start, it looked like Shida wasn't having any of it. I don't want to say it started off clunky with Shida, but like in the very beginning, she was set up for like a fallaway slam, and she was like not having it. And she was like fighting back on certain things and like forcefully making the match go one way and not another. So it was interesting to see. I'd love to hear the story about that. But once Statlander came in there, then it was more traditional and still physical, still highly physical match because Statlander's a heavy hitter, and you have Megan Bayne and Lena Cross in there. So, they're going at it. So really good matchup. Really was a test. And there was one spot of dissent in there between the challengers, which I was looking for when I spoke about it in my preview video. And this was where Shida went for the kendo stick early in the match. And Statlander, who was on the outside because Shida was legal, grabbed the kendo stick as well to say no, not to use it. And that caused them to shift to one side. Megan Bayne missed Shida and collided into the ring post in the corner. Statlander comes in, and Shida hits Statlander with a toe kick to the gut and suplexes her into Megan Bayne in the corner. And Statlander wasn't too happy about that. And that's kind of insane because, sometimes there's been times where partners who don't get along use their partner as a weapon, but that was insane because she actually hit her and then did the suplex. But we'll see what happens between those two. But ultimately, what did happen was that Shida again tagged herself in during the match at the end of the match. And this was after Statlander, had a good little comeback doing. She had hit a wicked lariat that just about destroyed, I think it might have been Lena Cross. I'm not sure. I'll have to look again. But it was a wicked lariat. And then she had Lena on top of Megan Bayne, went to the top, hit a beautiful 450 splash on both of them. And Shida proceeded to tag herself in, hit a Falcon Arrow on Lena Cross, had a very close 2 count. Was going to unsheathe the katana, that spinning kick that she does, but ended up finding herself in their finisher, the Divine Intervention, that double choke slam, and 1, 2, 3, game over. Physical match, like I said. Divine Dominion was definitely in a war. I said in the preview video, I wanted them to win a straight up and not because of any shenanigans or infighting between the challengers. There was some miscommunication and a little bit of infighting, but nothing too crazy. And I think it was a solid win for the Divine Dominion. They just beat 2 former world champions, and it was a hard-fought match. They pulled it out. We'll see what they have next in the future. Brawling Birds are busy with the Triangle of Madness, it seems, so who's going to step up to the Divine Dominion? I want those titles to get a prestigious run. I thought the Babes of Wrath did well as the inaugural champions. I think the Divine Dominion have an opportunity to take those titles even higher. So we'll see what's next on the plate for them, who their competition will be next. So from there, we had a quick backstage promo with Andrade and Don Callis. MJF interrupts, finally face to face. He's been blaming Andrade for this whole debacle, for not being champion and Darby being the champion, since Darby beat Andrade back at Dynasty. So we finally had that face to face. Ended up, Andrade was kind of being slick and just, instigating MJF a bit much during that backstage interview, to the point where MJF starts shoving him. And Don Callis eventually had to get in the middle, calling them both his money men and smoothing it over for the time being. We'll see if anything comes of that. I don't know. Andrade's been on a huge run, so it would be nice if he gets shown some respect, but I guess he's fine getting shoved around and just letting Don Callis tell him what to do. We'll see if that gets old or if that just stays the status quo for him. From there, we had a quick singles match, Rush versus Steven Fuerte. Steven messed with the bull. He got the horns. That's all you got to say, because that's all that really happened. From there, we had a backstage promo with the Ops, and Anthony Bowens was there. Joe was doing all of the talking, so he's back in charge. He went over each of the members, giving them praise, saying what they're about, mentioning that Hook will be getting a TNT title opportunity at this Saturday's Collision. So Kevin Knight will be defending again. So defended on Dynamite, going straight to Collision and defending against Hook. Remember, Knight has that bum knee, that bum leg. So it could be an opportunity for Kevin Knight to drop the title here and for Hook to become the TNT champion. I still think Kevin Knight is going to walk out of there champion. I'll have to think about it, give my official pick during my preview video, but I don't know that Hook is going to be winning it here. We shall see. I still think there's going to be some disruption between them because I don't know that Hook is too on board with Anthony Bowens being a part of the Ops. And he's kind of side-eyeing him and staring at him while while Joe was talking up Bowens, saying that he was going to be the best version of Bowens in the Ops. What was interesting was Joe brought up Will Ospreay and said, it was the Ops that was there for Will Ospreay during the whole Death Riders thing. And, does he want to be aligned with a group who's using him out of convenience, or does he want the confidence of being with the Ops? So it seems like Samoa Joe is putting out an offer and trying to see if Will Ospreay will be a part of the Ops. So that's interesting. Interesting that we're adding another wrinkle to the story, and that would, I imagine, bring some conflict between the Ops and the Death Riders, or maybe just bring up another reason Hook might be done with Joe as the leader of the Ops by trying to recruit Will or cause friction with the Death Riders. Who knows? But we'll see what happens. It all starts really with how Hook handles this TNT title opportunity on Collision. If he's able to become its champion, if he loses, what the ramifications for that will be, how that will look for his character and for the Ops as a whole. So there's a lot going on there, and the Will thing adds more intrigue to the whole situation. So we'll see where that goes. We had one final backstage promo. This is with FTR and Stoke. So Stoke is ticked off. He's saying, you know what? He spoke to Tony Khan. There's a double Jeopardy match he wants between Orange Cassidy and Dax. If Orange Cassidy wins, then him and any one of the conglomeration, they get a tag title match. If Dax wins, then they get to pick a partner and they get a trios title match. And that partner that they pick is Tommaso Ciampa. So that's a formidable group. Ciampa brings up the point that since he's beaten one of their conglomeration partners, Mark Briscoe, that Briscoe's been out and, hurt, whatever, just out of commission. And he's happy to do the same to them. He proceeds to eat a piece of popcorn out of Stoke's beard, which is gross. And Stoke looked like he agreed that it was gross. Ciampa thought it was delicious. But there we have it. We'll see what happens in that double Jeopardy match and who gets whose title shot. I would imagine since Ciampa's there, Dax is going to get the win over Cassidy, and we'll have a trios title match. But we shall see. And that takes us to the main event, world title match, Darby Allin versus Brody King. We know these matches get brutal, tend to get bloody. Got no blood tonight, but we definitely got brutality, and it was great. To start off, they met in the middle. Nice handshake of respect. And then as they walked back to their corners, Darby Allin sprints out of his, hits Brody with a shotgun dropkick, stuns him, but no problem for Brody. He quickly takes over with chops, strikes, cannonball, goes for the Gonzo bomb early, but it's countered. And then Darby Allin is able to hit an avalanche code red on him. And all of this has happened in the first couple of minutes. They've just unloaded two matches, their two previous matches worth of arsenal on each other quickly right off the bat, going for a quick win. And it all came to a screeching halt literally when Darby went for a tope suicida out to Brody King and just bounced right off of him. It was amazing to see because Darby just goes with so much force that he always knocks whoever he's hitting back, right? But Brody King, boom, hit a brick wall, went bouncing right off of him. It's great. We did see that Kevin Knight was in the crowd watching, and we also saw MJF was watching backstage on a screen. So two of them going at it. Darby's taking his beating, of course. Resilient, though, still fighting back. Brody King clears an announce table, and he's about to put Darby through it. Darby's able to counter and ends up hitting a code red on that announce table. So excellent job. The table didn't break, but fans are eating it up. Brutal match there, like I said, like we would all expect. Darby again hits a tope. This time it works, And it was right after that table spot, and it was a violent tope. Like, he just literally throws himself, like uses his body as a weapon, and there's just so much velocity. Like, looks it just looks brutal. He just does a great job at that. Of course, doesn't last long. Brody gets him in the ring. It's got him in a tree of woe, chops, cannonball, wicked lariats. And now the pinfalls are coming, and the 2 counts are getting closer and closer to that 3. It picks him up. It's a bigger, running, rebounding lariat. Again, another close 2 count. Darby's fighting back with chops. All of a sudden, Brody just grabs him by the throat, yeets him over the top rope to the floor. Just brutality yet again. And just Brody King showing that, you know what, at any point he can just overwhelm Darby, obviously with the strength. However, while he had Darby on the ropes, we get that OMG moment. We've got Brody King charging at Darby Allin, tries to hit the cannonball, goes through the barricade, breaks it down. Now, right before that spot, he was dragging Darby. Darby's holding on to the floor pads and pulling it, revealing the concrete under there, while Brody went through the barricade, goes to further expose that concrete. So now that concrete is exposed. Brody King is recovered. He's going into the ring now. He's trying to suplex Darby out of the ring onto the concrete. Darby is able to counter, slips through Brody's legs, power bombs Brody King onto the cement. That big body just hitting it. Just so much force and looks so painful. Lower back first. Cannot feel good. But great job by Darby. Immediately goes to the top rope, of course. Coffin drop to Brody King on the cement. And right there, Darby's back in the ring. Brody has to beat the count, which he does at the last possible second. Slides into the ring to eat 2 more coffin drops. 1, 2, 3. Match over. Darby Allin, another successful world title defense. He's done it again. And it was a solid match. Great match. Another great defense. Ends just like it started, with a handshake out of respect. Kevin Knight's up in the crowd watching. Darby Allin's on the corner watching Kevin Knight. And Kevin Knight is next. And he's going against Darby Allin for defense number 3 for Darby. But will Kevin Knight be TNT champion at that moment on next Wednesday? Because is he going to drop that TNT title against Hook on Collision? I don't necessarily think so, but it is a possibility. So we will find out this Saturday, and then we'll be walking into Collision as Darby goes for his 3rd title defense, 3 consecutive Wednesday nights. So let me know what you thought about this show. Let me know what you thought about the main event. I thought that was the match of the night on a night full of great pro wrestling, and I really enjoyed it. Again, Darby Allin and Brody King telling a great story. David versus Goliath. Relentless offense of Brody King. Brute strength. And just great wrestling ability. And Darby Allin's never say die resilience. Always fighting back. Always finding a way to get his offense onto any opponent. And guess what? It's always looks effective and is effective. And that's the magic of Darby Allin. Because for someone of his size and stature to be able to be in the ring with someone the size and stature of a Brody King, and you can watch that and say, yeah, this guy is getting his butt kicked at moments. But if you've been watching him, you know what he can take. You know what his body can absorb. And when you see him throwing his body around and using it as a weapon, and you see him doing whatever it takes, whatever he has to do, and that doesn't just include violence and using his body as a weapon, like I'm mentioning, but also wrestling ability. Like he's able to do it all. And hats off to him. Glad he's still champion. Long may he reign. Let me all know what you think of his title reign so far. Let me know what you're thinking about Will Ospreay and the Death Riders and the Ops. There's so much going on, and it's great. Great time to be a fan of AEW. So thank you all for watching this video. I've been talking enough as it is already. If you've already subscribed, thank you. If you have not, please do subscribe, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Have a great rest of your day. And until I speak to you again, take care.